We're back. It's Generations talking about my sports generations. And Steve is hot. And we've been talking about this the last couple of days. I was teasing a great topic for today that was going to be probably our most controversial. And because of recent events, we had to have the emergency topic for today and push our most controversial topic for next week. But I will give everyone a preview here in just a moment. But I am Jonathan.
I'm Steve, and I can't wait to start talking today.
And this is Generations talking about my sports generations. This is the big show. And this week we had the 100 game winning Los Angeles Doyer, and I believe the 101 or 102
Four.
game
104.
104 game winning Atlanta Braves eliminated from the playoffs this week. Take it away, Steve.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. And those of you who know me, and I feel like our listeners know me a bit, you know that in addition to being a part-time podcaster and a formerly full-time lawyer, I was a full-time movie fan also. Totally into the movies. And I'll tell you a great movie if you're bored, got nothing to do. Richard Gere, Ed Norton, Primal Fear. Classic movie. And Richard Gere plays a hard-boiled defense attorney, not like me, but a hard-boiled defense attorney. He's got a great line in the beginning. He's talking kind of to the camera. And he's like, when I went to law school, my professor told me, you want justice? Go to the whorehouse. And if you want to get effed, go to court. So you might wonder why I'm complaining about things being unfair, because for 31 years in court, things were unfair every day. And I sucked it up and I played on and I dealt with it. But there's something about the Braves and the Dodgers being unceremoniously bounced by underachieving teams that pushed a button with me. And I know it doesn't make sense to say it's not fair, but it's not fair. And I think the real thing that bothers me is that it diminishes the regular season, and the regular season should matter. And let's just take Arizona, which I really don't know much about them. I only know a handful of guys on their team, but they won 82 games. I mean,
84.
81 game. Oh, I'm sorry, 84 games. 81 games is 500. They're 3 games over 500 for the season for 162 games, and that now arguably they're the hottest team in baseball. They've won 5 games in a row, and they're going to play the Phillies for the right to get into the World Series. Now, kudos to them. They're gamers. They're playing well. They're pitching well. I saw some of the Dodger games, and the Dodgers looked overmatched. But I'm left wondering with this idea: why do you get to go through 4 months of baseball at mediocre level and then get in the playoffs? And I'll tell you the answer. The answer is greed. Greed on the owner's part. More TV games, more playoff games, more excitement. I'm all for that. I get that, but and this is not sour grapes. This is just saying I think that the regular season should mean more than home field advantage in a 5 game series. So those are my initial thoughts, Jonathan. What do you say?
Okay. So let's just give everybody a little bit of context here for just a moment. This is the first year where we have 3 wild cards. So prior to this year, if you take out the pandemic shortened season, we had 2 wild cards. And prior to that, I believe that was 2012 or 11. Prior to that, we had the 1 wild card that was instituted after the last expansion, which of course included Tampa Bay. So this is the first year of 3 wild cards. First and foremost, as we talked about previously and I've talked about on the bonus show, Extra Time, the city of Baltimore was electric. And Baltimore had the best record in the American League. I believe they what? Let's just double check and I'll tell you. They won 101 games. So they won 101 games. Tampa Bay won 99. The Twins won 87. And the Astros won 90 and the Rangers won 90. So the two teams with the best records were in the same division, and they both got bounced. And the city was electric. And I'll tell you this, the buzz in these cities when you make it, even if you are the wild card, even if you are 84 and 78, which is actually 6 games over 500, but that there's a lot to be said there. And yes, is there more TV revenue? Yes, can you make the argument that it dilutes, maybe the playoffs or dilutes the value of the regular season? But when you are a member of a city that gets in and anything can happen moving forward, it's magical. Look at the Giants in 2004. I think it was the 14 season. They were the wild card. I believe that's the season where Bumgarner throws a shutout and Brandon Crawford hits the grand slam against the Pirates. And of course, they go on to win the World Series. There's nothing more exciting than that, just having that shot. And then 2 years later, the Giants would beat the Mets. Or maybe it was the following season, they would beat the Mets again in the wild card. They would lose, I think it was 15, lose to the Cubs. But you just want a shot. And yeah, okay, the season's long. What is it good for? You are getting home field advantage. Why don't you use it there, Doyer? Why don't you use it, Braves? You blew it. That's on you.
Yeah, that's certainly one way to look at it. And there's no debating the buzz factor and the intensity it brings to the city. And I think that's all great. But to me, it's part of a trend. And this is where I'll say, get off my lawn. This is old guy talking. But I'm a plotter. And I was a plotter my whole life, and I worked at basically the same job for 3 decades. I worked my way up. I saved. I did my thing. There's no get rich quick schemes. There's nothing. I did it based on 31 years of work, and I punched in, I punched out, and I think that's worth something. And I think our society now is so locked into blockbuster everything. Movies, they don't make independent movies anymore. They only make franchise movies, and it's one ridiculous Marvel show after another after another. And it's boring, but it's also just it's catering to this I want it all. And I don't know if you want to blame it on iPhones or the Kardashians or whatever you want to do, but it seems like our society now is all about winning it and the excitement. And I'm like, hey, man, plotters deserve something too. So you play hard. I mean, I read a quote by the Philadelphia Phillies catcher, JT something or JD something.
Real
Yeah.
Muto, yeah.
And he's like, yeah, this team's built for October. And I'm like, are you the biggest ass of all time saying something like that? We focus better in October. What about the 162 games you play? I mean, it's silly to think that you can Cadillac it for the year, make the playoffs, and then shine. And actually, the irony, even though we're talking about it because of the Orioles, Dodgers, and Braves being unceremoniously bounced out, baseball is not even the worst offender. I mean, hockey's by far the worst offender. Their playoffs go for like 2 months, and you could literally play, I think, 28 playoff games, which is more than a third of a season. So there's no wonder these guys are beat to crap at the end of the season. Basketball is next. I mean, this play in to get to the wild card was just insane. And then football's adding it. And I see it as epidemic of our problem as a society, which is we're ruled by oligarchs, and it's not bad enough that they got a ton of money. They're greedy bastards too. And they are playing more and more games. And I hate to say it because I don't want to be condescending, but you've bought into, my young friend. You are saying, hey, this is great. Oh my God, another blockbuster. Let's have Spider-Man 12. This is fantastic. I can't wait. But you should be saying, I want new content. I want something good. You should be saying, okay, I get there needs to be one wild card in baseball because there's 3 divisions and you can't just have someone sit out. So, the best team with the best record plays a wild card team. Neither do play. Boom, you're done. But the way it is now strikes me as rewarding people who play for a moment. And I'm not that guy. I'm not Robert Horry. I'm not a guy who loafs all the time and then hits a couple big shots and has a bunch of rings. I'm Chris Paul. I'm not there every day. I might not have rings, but I play hard every day, and that's what matters.
So what you're saying
You're
is if
funny.
you're Chris Paul, you're linking up with Steph Curry now so that you could win?
I'm Chris Paul. I'm tired. I'm tired of being a plotter. I want to be a winner. But yeah, the Robert Ory's, the Andre Iguodala's. I mean, these guys who could be starters and play 40 minutes and play hard, but instead play 20 minutes and come to playoffs, rise up. To me, it's the same concept as baseball. The regular season needs to count. Every game needs to count. And if you're worried about losing fans, well, that's because you've catered to this insanity that everything's got to be a blockbuster.
Well, in this analogy, I'm Steph Curry, so I'm okay with all of this. But so let's unpack some of this because you actually I'm not saying that you don't have a point, and I'm not saying that there isn't a problem with some of this. But let's take the BCS. The BCS was going to be the boon for college football. We were going to have a true national champion. And now they want to expand the playoffs for that because it's not enough because, you have other teams that might or should be eligible or be able to contest it. And, now we need to have a playoff to get into the BCS, and we want to expand that playoff so that we could really have a true national champion versus the old way, which was not very good either. I think this is just the evolution. And, I'm okay with it. Like rolling with it. You always want to have a shot. Everybody, it's the Dumb and Dumber thing, right? It's like, oh, so you're telling me I've got a shot. Even if I have no chance, but you're telling me I got a shot. Isn't that sports? You always talk about being the underdog. Isn't that the underdog story? It's like out of nowhere with no chance against the 100-game winner. They rose up and they were able to overcome. I mean, isn't that the story that you've always wanted to write?
There's segments too I like. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm proud of the Diamondbacks, even though I don't know any guys. I did read an article about their general manager who, one of these tragic things where his wife dies of cancer. He's raising 4 teenage boys. Sounds like a good human being and a good story. So I'm for them. I get it. I'm just saying that I mean, talking about fans. Okay, in the 60s, before you were born, I would go to games and the Diamondbacks, without a wild card system, the Diamondbacks are eliminated by, let's say, July if you're being lucky. They're like 20 games behind the Dodgers. They're not going to make it. But if you're a fan, you still go to see players. You like the old guys who can still play. You like the young guys who learn how to do it. And it's a thing. And I think what's happened is it's been brought down like by the sages that you can only watch a game if your team has a chance of winning a ring. And I think that's the wrong message to the fans. I mean, baseball, I think baseball is a beautiful game, even though it's kind of boring. And I like it. I mean, I used to go to minor league games when I was in law school. I went to minor league games. The Twins had a team, and when I was in Visalia, the Reds had a team. So I saw some really good players. I think Kurt Herbeck and Gary Gaetti, and I saw Eric Davis Jr. and all these guys. And I would go see a minor league game because it's fun to see good players play. But I think there's this thing that the owners, these PIG owners, have fooled the masses, and they have convinced people that it only counts if you're in it to win it, and they've expanded everything. I mean, what I read today, and I think the Times, the owners wanted 14 teams in the playoffs in baseball, and the players kind of compromised with 12. So I mean, the owners want more and more and more. And obviously they're very savvy business people, even the buffoons on like the Yankees and the Mets, but they make money. They know how to make money, and they know you should have a playoff game. You got national TV rights. You got all these people watching. You got commercials. It's a deal. I'm just saying that in doing so, there's a price you pay. And the price you pay is you're diminishing the regular season. Now, your point is very good. Dodgers and Braves and Orioles had home field advantage and they couldn't protect it. That is on them. They should have done better, but they didn't. But I think it's odd to have and certainly in the NBA, there's all this jockeying for what position you're going to be in the playoffs, and all these people resting and stuff. I think it takes away from the regular season, and certainly in most leagues, the regular season is kind of a dress rehearsal, and the playoffs, the gloves come off and they play real hard.
So let me throw something at you. 1987. Do you recall who won the World Series that year?
I think the Dodgers won in 86 or 87. I don't know, maybe the Yankees.
Doyer were 88 against the A's. 87, okay. Candy Maldonado misplays a deep fly ball by Tony Pena, who at the time was on the Cardinals, drops for a triple against Dave Dravecky prior to his cancer and the removal of his arm. Giants lose that game 1-0, ties the series up. Giants losing Game 7. Jeffrey Leonard wins NL MVP for only the second time that a losing player wins MVP in a championship series by a losing team. Cardinals go on, and it is the first World Series where the home team wins every single game, one of which is a game that has Tom Lawless, who cranks a 3-run home run and flips his bat like he's been there before, against
Kansas City Royals,
Kent Herbeck,
oh,
Kirby
Minnesota,
Puckett,
okay, wow.
Frank Viola. That year, the Twins went 85-77 and won the West, AL West. In the East, Le Tigre, 98 wins. Toronto Blue Jays, 96 wins. Milwaukee Brewers, 91 wins. New York Yankees, 89 wins. You had 4 teams in the East that had a better record than the Twins, and just because they were in the wrong division, 3 teams did not make any kind of playoffs. How does that make sense? And devaluing the regular season, these are the types of things that you have. And so having some level of wild card or second chance or whatever you want to call it helps normalize those things and helps those teams have the chance and the opportunity. Now, I'm with you that there's always a balancing act. And too many teams, if you're going to have 16 teams in baseball, as an example, that's too many. Right now in basketball, you basically go down to 20 teams now, because you have the top 7 are in, and then what is it? 8, 9, and 10 all play it out to go figure out who actually becomes the 8 seed, or maybe it's the 7, 8, 9, and 10 now. So you have 20 teams. You want to talk about a little crazy and devaluing of the regular season. Okay, I mean, I think your point there can be valid, but you got to have some kind of, again, you knew I was going to bring this up, 1993, the Giants. I mean, come on, man. The Giants, and it wasn't like the Giants fell apart. The Giants were good all the way until the end, and it just so happened that they fell a game short. And so there's no recompense. It's like, well, sorry, friend. Braves win 104 games. Giants win 103. And, too bad. Phillies won 97. So it's going to be Phillies and Braves.
Well, the reality is it's not fair. And I get the idea that you're in a tough division, and you come in third in your division, you're better than the other divisions. That's no different than my analogy of Long Beach State playing UCLA in the West. That's regional. That's part of the system. That doesn't offend me at all. And that's bad luck. The East is not always good. The East sometimes stinkers. So trends change. I just think it is more about nothing but greed. And I just think it's kind of crazy. And I wonder, and so today I think in the Athletic there was an article about, maybe the teams that make the playoffs now are smarter. They're doing all these things, and it's a different way of looking at things. I do think it's generational. So I wouldn't go back to this, it's so much better in my time. Back in the 60s and 70s, when there was a pennant winner, a vast majority of teams by July were done. I mean, they were playing because that was their job, and they played hard, and that's what it was, and they had zero chance. I mean, if you look at the Cubs in the entire '60s, I mean, I'm not sure they ever were over 500, and they had lousy teams. And you could probably say the same thing about the Indians. I don't have all the stats at my beck and call. The Giants, no, the Giants, they're in the '62 World Series, right?
They were in the 62 World Series, but when you start talking about basically post divisions, so the divisions got started in 1969. And so I did a show on this for the Clevelands. The Clevelands, all the way basically from the year I was born, 1972, to 1993, their average finishing spot was 6th. They finished 4th like 3 times or something like that. The Clevelands were terrible until 1994, and that is when you start seeing Kenny Lofton. You started seeing, Sandy Alomar Jr. had been in the league for a few years, Carlos Baerga. Then you started getting Brian Giles, Tomei, Manny, and they started really stacking, their team. But until then, the best they'd done was 4th place. And the Giants, you talk about the old system, the Giants were out. Nobody was going to see the Giants, and everybody complained the Candlestick was terrible and Candlestick was cold and the night games were awful. And don't get me wrong, they were. But everyone talks about Pac Bell or AT&T or Chase, whatever it's called today. And maybe that's a whole nother segment that we do. But the new stadium, don't get me wrong, it's beautiful. It's not that much warmer. Hunters Point and where that thing is, it's still cold. The fog still rolls in. Now, maybe, how that park was built when they closed it up, when it used to be open. I'm talking about Candlestick, of course. Those things were different, and the wind patterns are slightly different. But, I mean, it's a nicer, less cold version, slightly, of Candlestick. But the Giants lost 100 games in '85. They lost 90-some games in '84. And then basically from like 1975 to 1986, until 86, the Giants were middling to terrible. And they were going to move the team to Tampa Bay. And that would have been awful. And the elixir that fixes all of this stuff is 1, winning, or 2, the prospect of having that shot. And keeping these, I think it's a little naive to say, well, you're out in July, but I just want to go watch the team play. And I'm going to go spend as much, which is a different topic. I'm going to go spend for a family of 4 $1,000 to go watch a game. No one's going to do that. And then these smaller market teams are going to struggle, and they're going to go away, and we're going to have these other financial problems that we've had in the past.
Yeah, but you're buying into it. It doesn't have to be $1,000 for family of 4. It's greed on the owner's part. How about this? I've got a proposal. It just came to me. So the Dodgers win 100 games, and the D-backs win 84. And they give the Dodgers home field advantage. Why not you either give the Dodgers a 4-0 lead in the first inning, or the D-backs have to play with 8 guys, so they can only have 2 outfielders. Wouldn't that be a better way to do it?
Well, the methodology that you're utilizing, the process in your mind, I think is sound. The execution is poor, but a better way to do it would be, okay, Doyer won 100 games. Diamondbacks won 84. So you take that winning percentage. And so with that winning percentage in a playoff series, okay, Diamondbacks, you have to win 4 games. Doyers, you only need to win 2, as an example. That could be a way to do it. So now you're getting the home field advantage, and you have to win more games because you were X percent of games back.
I like that. That's a great idea. But it'll never work because what the TV executives want is Game 7. They don't care who wins or loses. They want Game 7 in every series. So actually, the D-backs are not very. I'm sure they're not very fond of them in the networks because they win too much. You want to go 7. So no one wants the Phillies or the D-backs to sweep the other team except their fans. The executives want a 7-game series, and I think what this does, I mean, it shouldn't surprise anybody, and it certainly doesn't surprise me, is it's just the curtain thrown back, and you got to hold the mirror up, and it's greed. And my point through a number of these shows is that, you know, at some point the greed's going to be too much, and it's going to ruin a good thing. It might be a ways away, but it really is. And I think what the average fan is going to do is probably stop going to regular season games because they don't really mean anything. And if that guy in Philadelphia is right, they're a team that lives for October. I don't know. That just sits wrong with me. But switching gears slightly, because like I said, baseball is not the worst offender, but I think it's very similar to the thing I said about Robert Horry and your favorite Andre Iguodala. I mean, I don't get why guys are focused on rings. I mean, what's the difference between Robert Horry and Kevin McHale? Probably not that much. I mean, they're both about the same size. They both got long arms. They're both phenomenal players. McHale chose to bang it down low for, doesn't season NBA and play hard. And Robert Horry chose to shoot jumpers from outside and throw T-shirts at Danny Ainge. He epitomizes what's wrong with the modern athlete and the modern fan, in my humble opinion.
Why is Horry the post? Like,
because he should have started. He should have played 37 minutes a game, every game, and had the wear and tear in his body and played hard. Instead, he coasted until playoff time. That's what he did, just like Iguodala.
But
they're slackers. If you had them in your business, you'd fire their ass in a heartbeat. You want someone who's going to show up every day working hard, every day. Chris Paul, Klay Thompson.
Oh my God. Okay. First of all, like in the NBA, you don't get to choose.
Austin Reeves.
That guy's terrible. I'm sorry. That guy's terrible. I don't care. That guy's terrible. And
2 years will be an all-star. 2 years will be an all-star. Easy.
He's going to be an all-star. Let's just call it what it is. He'll be an all-star because he's white and because he's on a team where he gets all of the defense pulled away from him and he can slide into the corner and he can make a shot. That's it. Dude can't put the ball on the floor. He's not even as good as JJ Redick.
Oh, God,
he's not as good as Kyle Korver. He's not as good as
you can compare him. You don't just compare white people. You compare anybody.
Nope, we're comparing him to white guys because you're sitting there saying that the black man is lazy and that the white man is down low making it happen. I mean, we could even go. What's the guy who went to Georgia Tech, played for Utah? I can't even think of his name. Anyway, but let's get back to Robert Horry. Robert Horry started off on the Rockets.
Big game. Who'd you rather have, Robert Horry or Mario Elie? You'd rather have Mario Elie because he's going to play hard for 48 minutes. He's going to hit the shot that needs to be hit. Even though he's not as talented as Robert Horry, but he's a gamer. He's a player. Robert Horry is not.
Mario Elie was not playing 48 minutes a game. He was playing like a fifth, sixth man, seventh man. He wasn't even really a starter.
With his talent, he took it a long ways. Robert Horry has got more talent in his finger than Mario Elie does in his body, yet Mario Elie is a far better player. That's a fact. You can look it up.
How are we coming? Where is this even coming from? Robert Horry, I'm no fan of Robert Horry because Robert Horry, basically sank the Kings and sent the Kings into oblivion along with Tim Donaghy. But okay. Is it because Robert Horry has a bunch of rings? Is that why you got this hate for Robert Horry? Because he happened to be at the right place at the right time? I mean, he was 3 times he was, right? So he gets a couple. How many rings does he have with Houston? 2?
I think 2.
2 rings with Houston's. He's got at least 2 with the Laker, right?
I think maybe 3, but yeah, he's got a bunch.
I think he's got 7 rings total, maybe 2 with the San Antonios.
Here's my point. Here's why I'm bringing up Robert Horry, because I think it relates to what we were talking about on the playoffs. And it's now all about winning and nothing else. And in the 60s, I mean, baseball was the sport. Baseball was the American pastime in the 60s. I don't think it is anymore. But in the 60s and the 50s and 60s and 70s it was. And they didn't have all these wild cards, they didn't have all these playoff shenanigans. And what they had was a bunch of people who played, and fans enjoyed watching it. And somewhere along the line, there was this shift in mentality in most sports. And now it's all about rings. So you get a guy like Charles Barkley. Oh, he wasn't that good because he's got no rings. How about Damian Lillard? Oh yeah, now that he's going to the Bucks, maybe he'll be a winner. And I'm like, no, it didn't used to be that way. So I think the owners have really hoodwinked us into this desire for championships. It's all about championships and having a shot. I mean, it's funny because having a shot, that comes from boxing. He's got puncher's chance. So you got some pug who's a ham and egger who's not very good, but he's got a great left hook and he's really overmatched. But if he takes a beating for 7 or 8 rounds and he lands one hook, he can win. And that's the fantasy. That's Rocky. That's whatever it is. And it's a great fantasy. But all of a sudden it's a reality for sports. And I'm like, I still think that the regular season counts. And I know I was being facetious about, having 8 guys in the Diamondbacks or starting down 3-0, but maybe there needs to be some way to change. Maybe you need to get a little more for winning a division. And really in sports, I think in football, there's a home field advantage. If you got to play in, Foxborough, where you won't have to play this year, or Pittsburgh, or some really free, or Buffalo, it's a big deal. If the Chargers have to go to Buffalo, to play in the championship, I know the Chargers won't be there, but if they did, that'd be a big deal because it's freezing and Buffalo's better at it. But, it just strikes me that basketball, baseball, it's like, yeah, you win a bunch of games, you come in first, and everything, the slate's wiped clean, and it's all about, oh, let's have more teams in the playoffs. Let's do this, that. And I mean, you played sports just like I played sports. You're probably better at than I was. I wasn't very good, but I will say, when you get hot, it's a big deal. And I was watching the game last night or 2 nights ago, whenever the Dodgers lost, and I don't know the Dodgers that well, so I'm kind of watching the game. This guy comes up, and I'm like, holy shit, this guy looks terrible. His body language was horrible. It was Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts, top 5 player in the league. I mean, he is a phenomenal player, but he was in a slump, and he looked terrible, and they got him out. I'm just saying, I remember in City League, that's my highlights. In Ventura City League, I'd get hot sometimes, and boy, it was going in. If I got the ball, it was going in. I just knew it. And take it to another level with the pros. I mean, right now, the Diamondbacks are hot. They know what they're doing. They're playing great baseball. They slaughtered the Dodgers, and I just don't think it should be the hottest team winning. I think the best team should win, and I don't think the Diamondbacks are better than the Dodgers. I think they smashed them. They're certainly the better team in this series, but it's like, okay, let's throw out the regular season and start now. I'm like, I don't get it. So I'm befuddled why the Diamondbacks with 84 wins, which I agree are 6 games over 500, not 3 games over 500, why they're still playing. And man, I mean, the irony is I'm rooting for them. I hope they win it all because I can't stand the Houston Asterisks, and Texas I don't know that much about, and the Phillies seem like a bunch of whiners to me. So I hope the Diamondbacks win, but I really question how a team with 83 wins or 84 wins gets to play. And that's why I'm bringing up Robert Horry and Mario Elie and Chris Paul and anyone else I can think of, Daryl Dawkins. I don't know.
I'm just going to unpack all this. I don't even know if I have any more, comments on it, but I just got to unpack all this. So I have it straight. The best team should always go to the very pinnacle and fight it out. Bryce Harper should not take more money to go someplace else that he'd rather be, and he should just suck it up and take whatever the owners are going to offer him to stay with the Nationals.
That was before we took air, so no one knows that one. But yeah, Bryce Harper should have stayed in D.C. and shown some loyalty for a team that raised him instead of just running to Philadelphia. Who'd run to Philadelphia?
Horry,
really?
And Robert Horry,
you've been to Philadelphia.
I have been to Philadelphia. It's a different place than I'm used to. And Robert Horry effectively is
carpetbagger. Yes, a carpetbagger.
Carpetbagger. There you go. So 1992 draft. 1992 draft.
In basketball?
In basketball. Number 1 pick. Shaquille O'Neal. The number 2 pick, Alonzo Mourning. The number 3 pick, Christian Laettner. Number 4, Jimmy Jackson. Number 5, LaFonso Ellis. You remember LaFonso Ellis? He was a Nugget for a while. Notre Dame. You remember LaFonso Ellis?
The Fonz, yes.
So far, I've mentioned 5 guys. They're all, either great Hall of Famers, at least solid players. Yes?
I'm not sure about LaFonso Ellis, but yeah, the other. Well, I'm also not sure about Christian Laettner. I wouldn't call him a solid player. I'd call him kind of a classic Duke loser. I don't know what you call him. I mean, I don't think Christian Laettner.
He was
How many years
solid
did he play in the NBA?
Oh my gosh, we're gonna go get sidetracked by this, but okay.
No, don't get sidetracked. Get your point.
No. We need to get sidetracked because we need to have this discussion. First season was the 92-93 season where he averaged 18.2 points a game. He played until the 2004-2005 season. I mean, the dude played 11, 12 years in the league. He averaged 6.7 rebounds per game. He averaged 12.8 points per game. He shot .480 from the field. He had an .820 free throw. I mean, the guy was solid. Like, I'm not going to say that he's like,
I would call him solid. I'd call him below solid. I'd call him average. He's okay.
He averages more points than Mario Elie did, more rebounds, more assists, more steals.
If I'm picking teams, if I'm picking players, I'd pick Mario Elie way before I pick Christian Laettner. Look, Christian Laettner had one good play in his career. He shot that buzzer beater for Duke. Great. He get one of the best college shots of all time. But as a pro, he was the average player.
He's solid. He's better than average. Okay. So now you had Jimmy Jackson. Can we agree that Jimmy Jackson was pretty good?
He was a very good player, yeah.
Okay. So now we start getting into some questionable picks. The infamous Tom Gugliotta from NC State, Washington Bullets at the time, not the Wizards. Walt Williams. Strangely enough, Walt Williams, the Wizard, got drafted by the Kings out of Maryland and then would eventually go play for the Wizards. Here's another great one. Arkansas, Todd Day by the Bucks. This guy was supposed to be the next Barkley, Clarence Weatherspoon, number 9 out of Southern Miss. Oh, man, I remember this guy. Adam Keefe.
Ugh, yeah, Stanford.
Adam Keefe. Yeah,
Stanford, Cardinal.
By the Hawks. Robert Horry was the number 11 pick. So, Robert Horry wasn't, number 11 picks don't turn out to be Robert Horry. So it wasn't like he was expected. So to call him just because he happened to be at the right place at the right time does not, make him better or worse. It just, okay. I'll say this. He was lucky to be on the teams that he was on, but he wasn't a starter. He never was a starter.
Who's better in your opinion, Michael Thompson or Robert Horry?
Okay, that is like the worst Michael Thompson was the number 1 pick in the NBA, and arguably, and maybe not even arguably, maybe I have this wrong, but I believe he was like the top defensive center for like the first, 7-8 years of his career. Does that sound right?
He was good. He was a solid post player, no question. My point is this, and here's what I'm trying to say, probably inartfully. Robert Horry seemed to me to not play hard during the regular season and not actually get many minutes in the regular season. And then come playoff time, he played hard and he was very good. And he fit in the Lakers. I mean, I think Derek Fisher has almost as many rings as Robert Horry, but Derek Fisher was the kind of guy that gave it a lot every game. He wasn't overly talented, but he turned himself into a solid player, good defender, decent point guard, coexist with Kobe, did his thing. He was fine. But I just think Robert Horry should have been a starter, should have played a lot of minutes. And instead, he chose not to. And he chose not to because I don't think he's motivated to play.
What? But based on what? Like, he doesn't get to choose. He was at 11th. He was the 11th pick. His career average is 7 points a game. His career average for minutes per game is 24.5, which is like that sixth, seventh, eighth guy. Like,
But
that's
he was
who he was
talented enough to be,
supposed.
he was talented enough to be a starter. He was talented enough to be an all-star. Robert Horry could have been an all-star if he put his mind to it. He didn't, though.
Based on what? This is what I'm so befuddled. Like, I don't know how we landed on Robert Horry, and for whatever reason, this is a beautiful and amazing discussion because I am so perplexed on how Robert Horry has become the poster child of you were better and you should have started. Don't you think
Exactly.
his coaches would have realized that and he would have been a starter if they actually thought he was he has one season where he has starter minutes. He's played 37.1 minutes in his last season with Houston. And it turns out that's also the year they weren't as good. And so if you're not as good and he's starting, that tells you that he's not a starter.
Here's the difficulty with your logic. Your logic is based on, no surprise, statistics.
You're going to say analytics. I knew you were going to
exactly,
say
this. It is. Well, just like you say the Giants, I say analytics. And I'm saying analytics are for people who don't watch the games closely. And if you watch the games closely, you can judge talent. I don't care when Robert Horry's drafted. He's way better than Adam Keefe. He's way better than Christian Laettner. He's way better than all those guys. But he didn't show it. And I think he's the perfect example for the championship mentality that has really permeated sports and changed it drastically. And I think that part has also caused, maybe not caused, but it's fit in with the owners getting more and more games. I mean, remember, I know I'm bouncing all over the place, but 1,000-yard rush used to be a big deal when there's 14 games. Well, first of all, there's 12 games. Then there's 14 games. Then they raised it to 16 games. And if you average 7, 8 yards a game, you're going to get 1,000. So it's no big deal anymore. And what's happening is that the games are being degraded by the owner's greed and stretching everything out. And I think someone's got to wave the flag, and it might as well be me, even though I fully accept your points, and I actually agree with them, that Baltimore is exciting, Arizona's exciting now, the games are fun to watch, why not? I'm not trying to be the guy that says let's not have fun. All I'm saying is there's something wrong with the system right now. It does not respect the regular season enough, and they've got to figure out a way to do it. I mean, okay, you're a student. You got your MBA at Pepperdine. You take 9 tests, you're scoring 98 every time, and you're the guy. And then the professor says, okay, the top 5 of you, we're going to throw everything out, and it's the last one. Good luck. You'd say, whoa, what about all those tests I did? What about everything I did great? And they say, too bad. And you'd say, that's unfair, right? Of course you would.
In that situation, of course, I'm still perplexed on how Robert Horry becomes the poster child for all this. When how do you even know that Robert Horry is trying his best? Like when Robert Horry is not trying his best and looks bad on the court, it's because he's not that good. Christian Laettner, for his career, averaged more points, more blocks, more steals, more assists, more rebounds, higher free throw percentage, higher three-point percentage, and higher field goal percentage. It just so happened he was not on the Rockets, the Lakers, or the San Antonios. I mean, I don't know. Like, to make the statement that he's the example and then the leap across the greed for the owners, I am perplexed. And at the same time, this is the most beautiful conversation that I've ever had with you in the entire time that I've known you. So
let me ask you this. Have you ever seen Christian Laettner play a full game?
I mean, it's been a while, of course, but yeah, of course I did.
He wasn't that good. I mean, that's you guys. That's when I say you guys, I mean you analytical people. There are rebounds and the rebounds. There's shots and there's shots. And to analytics, they all look the same. And to a trained observer, they don't look the same. And Christian Laettner did not get tough rebounds. Christian Laettner was an average player. Robert Horry had the ability to get tough rebounds. He just chose not to. Kevin McHale got tough rebounds. Mario Elie hit big shots. Derek Fisher hit big shots. So I'm saying to you, analytics only go so far. There's too many playoffs. Owners are greedy. And I would expect you to wholeheartedly agree with me.
So Kevin McHale had the benefit of Larry Bird, Dennis Johnson, Bill Walton, the Chief. I don't even know. Can we even call him the Chief? Is that like that was his nickname? But is that
no?
I don't
Just
know.
call him Robert Parrish.
Just we'll call him Robert Parrish.
Yeah, Chiefs politically correct.
Laettner was on the early expansion Timberwolves, and his teams were terrible. So what do you expect? Like, what was he supposed to do? Like,
be Damon Stoudemire.
The guy still shot 48% from the field on terrible teams. Christian Laettner, here you go. His first season in the league, he had a washed-up Thurl Bailey. Now, there was a point in time where Thurl Bailey was actually really, really good. But at this point, Thurl Bailey has been in the league for a while. Lance Blanks, I mean, come on. Luke Longley, and this is well after Longley, Luke Longley. Oh, actually, this is before he gets on the Bulls. But, I mean, Luke Longley was nothing in the league and actually shows that he was injured most of the year. Marlon Maxey, I barely even remember this guy. And then he had Chuck Person at the end of his career, and Chuck Person at this point is a stiff. I mean, he wasn't that good on defense to begin with, but at this point, he is a stiff on defense. Brad Sellers, he was a terrible center. Chris Smith, Felton Spencer. Oh my gosh!
What do you can say next? That Bobby Hurley was a good guard. I didn't realize you had this Duke bias that you like Duke so much.
I don't have a Duke bias, but I'm saying like Christian Laettner was good. If you put Christian Laettner on those same teams that Horry was on, Christian Laettner has the same career but better statistics. He has the same rings. He has the same everything, and they may even won even more because he was a better shooter than Horry. But to make Horry this weird, I don't know where you're trying to go with it. Now, on the green,
I don't tell you where I'm trying to go. Here's where I'm trying to go. This is all based on the Philadelphia Phillies catcher saying we're an October team. Somewhere or other in sports mentality, now it's okay to be a slacker during the regular season and play hard in the playoffs. And I would say, without being sanctimonious, without being a jerk, that's offensive. I want someone who suits up, plays hard every day, every game, no matter what. Don't you?
That's fair. Like that, like you want lunch pail guys, right? They come to work every
skilled
day.
Lunch pail guys.
They come to work, and in real life you want that as well, and I won't disagree with any of that. How Robert Horry becomes the poster child for, well, he only comes to work when it matters. I that piece I just find, like, how do you know? Like, we don't know that. Like, I don't know where you've got that information. Like, it, as far as I'm aware, it's never been reported.
Well, I mean, it's all speculation on my part. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying it's what I think, and I could be dead wrong. I've never met Robert Horry. I don't know the man. What I've read about him and watched him play, I got the distinct impression that he was a superstar who chose not to be a superstar, who chose to be Big Shot Rob in the playoffs. And I'm like, I don't go there. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it.
He wasn't a superstar. He was a decent player. He was a good piece. And your Mario Elie piece is baffling to me as well. Where, yeah, Mario Elie was an undersized, you know who's Mario Elie today, but not as a good version of Mario Elie. Is he was on the Rockets, and then he was on the Heat. He was on the Philadelphia 76ers this last year.
Exactly. PJ Tucker.
PJ
exactly
Tucker.
Right.
PJ Tucker is a not as good version of Mario Elie.
Okay, I agree. And PJ Tucker's my guy. I like guys like that. I like guys like that who play hard, who play above their skill level, and they take every game seriously. And I think they do it in large part because they know if they don't, they'll be out of the league. I mean, did you know, and you probably knew this, Charles Barkley and Danny Ainge were the same size, same height.
Yes.
And Charles Barkley was one of the best rebounders in NBA history. And I'm just saying that what appeals to me as a fan, and I think is generational, and what bothers me as a fan now is that this notion of playing hard every day and every game counting seems to be slightly diminished by the playoff scenarios that the owners have come up with, and you, as a fan, have wholeheartedly bought into. And I would just say, take the blinders off, look at your pocketbook, check your judgment, and say, okay, maybe I'm being conned by these owners, and maybe we shouldn't have a system where everyone gets to make the playoffs. Maybe some teams should say, hey, you know what? 84 wins, we're not good enough to make the playoffs. We're out. We're playing golf.
I checked my pocketbook because I don't have live television anymore. I don't watch any live sports. I've watched two full baseball games now in this whole entire year. I haven't gone to a live sporting event since you and I went to Detroit. And that was really more of a fun. It wasn't really necessarily about Detroit or the Tigers. It was more about spending time with you and Mark.
I got two words for you. Live golf. That's where it's boiling down to. That's what's going to come to. And I'm not bashing the Saudis, although I'd like to, but I don't know enough about them to really bash them. I'm just saying it's about greed, and it's going to get there. It's going to get where they're buying everything. Not the owners. Some monolithic group is buying things, and they're telling the fans, look at more playoff games, more things, Spider-Man 12. It's great. Just get in line, and you guys get in line. I'm saying, no. What about indie movie? What about something good? What about something that might not be trying to make 100 million? What about something trying to tell a story? What about something like that? That's where I'm coming from.
I mean, I appreciate all of those things, but I think we can have those things and still have them in the context of what we have now. And you're right. Like, okay. If you had just the straight 8 teams from each division for basketball, that's good enough for me. If you had 1 or 2, I think that it works out I think it's just cleaner as far as the games, on how the games are played and scheduling. I think it's cleaner to have 2 wildcard teams than having the previous system, which is only a couple of years ago, versus the system now, because now you've got that extra kind of set of games that you have to deal with. So I don't really like that, because we're going to have games that potentially, what was it? Was it the 2004, 2008, the World Series games that are in Colorado and there was snow on the ground? I mean, that's a little excessive, right? Playing games in November is a little crazy.
Well, remember, back in the day, Reggie was called Mr. October because they never used to play games in October. The World Series ended in late September, and now it'll be in November. You're right. And when they get Colorado, or they get some freaking place without a dome and it's raining, the owners are going to say, wow, I guess we were too greedy.
So I'm going to, just because since you're giving us all these crazy takes, here's my crazy take. Dave Kingman is only slightly worse than Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson overrated.
I think Dave Kingman was underrated. I like Dave Kingman, and now he'd be fit right in with your analytics. He'd be Max Muncy or any of these other guys that hits 232 and hits 48 home runs. So yeah, Dave Kingman would be someone they like nowadays. Even though he struck out a lot, but he hit a lot of home runs.
He hit a lot of home runs. Reggie is the all-time strikeout leader in Major League Baseball, and the closest person to him is Jim Thome, and Jim Thome's not playing anymore, and he'll never reach it. Reggie hit 300 once, 1980, 300 on the dot. Reggie only really had 2 really exceptional seasons, 1969 and 1980. Of course, he hit a lot of home runs, but he was one of the first guys swinging from, as much, as hard as he possibly could. And I think it's just he's living off of, I hit 3 home runs in 1977 on the biggest stage at the time in the biggest market in New York. And that's Reggie. I think Rickey Henderson was a much better baseball player than Reggie Jackson, and not even close. Rickey, I think, was way better defender. You talk about talented guy and not playing hard. How about Reggie? Reggie didn't play hard in the field. Reggie loafed. Reggie was a loafer until he finally got moved to DH. So you're throwing dispersions at Robert Horry. Robert Horry was never supposed to be good, and Reggie Jackson absolutely was supposed to be good, and Reggie Jackson absolutely was a superstar. How about those? How about that take?
I don't disagree with it. I think Reggie was slightly overrated. I think there's something to be said though about stepping up big time. Although, I was just thinking one World Series, wasn't there a second base named Mark Lemke that had a monster series? And I mean, a lot of these little guys step up, but Reggie stepped up in the biggest stage. He was the meat potatoes of the Yankees. He came through in the clutch, and you got to give him some credit for that. A lot of career home runs. I think as a player, he's probably overrated. I think I rethink my take. I think that he's significantly better than Dave Kingman, but that doesn't mean Dave King was bad. Dave King was a decent player, very decent.
Dave Kingman, 442 career home runs. Reggie, I think, is 512, 17, something like that. All right. We haven't exhausted this. There is so much more that we need to unpack in this, and maybe this is another episode, but we've definitely concluded this episode. I will say this. This episode ended up not being how I thought it was going to go. Not saying that it has to go the way that I think these are going to go every single time, but I will say this. This is all in one the most confusing, perplexing, and beautiful discussions that I've ever had with you regarding sports. And we have to unpack this even more because there's so much get off my lawn in here. And going back to, I'm Steve Lipson and I'm 14 years old in, 1960, whatever. And it's beautiful and I love it. But man, do I disagree with you on pretty much everything.
Well, the funny thing about sports is it's sports. It's a distraction. People have crazy opinions. I throw it way out there to everyone that I could be way wrong. It's just my subjective ideas. And I was sorry the Dodgers lost for a nanosecond. The real reason I'm sorry is my wife and I used to go watch games, and it'd be fun to go to a local establishment and have some drinks and watch a 3-hour baseball game. But we probably won't now that the Dodgers aren't in it. But I do think it's fine to have crazy theories on sports. It's all in good fun. And I do seriously, though, think that the playoff system is a little screwed up. And whether they fix it or not, who knows? But I know that it'll all come down to the same thing, which is how can the owners get more money in their pocketbook? But aside from that, this has been a great talk. This is Steve, and look forward to seeing you guys next time.
I'm Jonathan. We'll see you.